All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're mapping out a really complex, highly analytical journey of how food appendages interact with ritual impurity. We're going to be looking directly at ancient legal theory, specifically focusing on the rigorous hermeneutical derivations that actually define the boundaries of the physical world. It's fascinating stuff.
Here is our roadmap for today. 1. Foundations of food appendages. 2. Textual proofs for handles. 3. The a fortiori inference. 4. Pressure testing the logic. And 5. The final legal framework.
Section 1. Foundations of food appendages, handles, and protections. So, before we can really understand the law, we have to look at the physical architecture of the food, right on our dinner tables. First up, we have the concept of a handle, and it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like, a part of the food that you hold while eating. Think of a bone attached to a piece of meat. It's an appendage you use to hold the food, saving your fingers from getting all messy, but it doesn't wrap around or guard the meat itself. Then, in contrast, we have what's called a protection. Think of a walnut shell, or maybe an apple skin. This appendage actively protects the food inside, from dirt, from damage. It's structurally wrapped around the edible portions specifically to keep it safe. Now, what's absolutely fascinating here is the legal hierarchy this creates. A protection is actually a much more stringent category than a mere handle. Because a protection actively guards the food, the law views it as more integral, more fundamentally tied to the food itself. A handle, meanwhile, is treated much more leniently, simply because its function is purely for external human utility. And this brings us to the core concept of ritual impurity that we're going to be testing against these appendages today. First, we need to talk about importing impurity. This is the process where an appendage brings ritual impurity from an outside source straight into the attached food. For example, if you were to touch the bone of a piece of pure meat with impure hands, does that bone act like a conduit and actually import the impurity right into the meat? But then we have the exact reverse, exporting impurity. If the meat is already ritually impure and a perfectly pure item touches just the bone, does that bone export the impurity outward to the new item? The ancient texts demand that we prove exactly how these appendages operate, in both directions. Moving right along to Section 2, Textual Proofs for Handles, the foundation in Leviticus. Now, this law isn't just assumed out of thin air. It's meticulously derived, word by word, from the text. Let's look at this specific verse regarding food impurity. The absolutely crucial part here is the phrase, "for you." This establishes a strict Torah-level law. Any part needed for your use of the food, like a handle, shares the food's impurity status. Because the handle is for you, it functions as an active part of the food network. And the textual derivations actually go much farther. These verses establish that a handle imparts impurity across 3 major categories: food, animal carcasses, and vessels. In all 3 of these areas, explicit textual derivations prove that a handle transmits impurity in both directions, meaning it can both import and export impurity. Which brings us to Section 3, the a fortiori inference, the analytical climax. So how do we prove the rules for protective coverings if we don't have those same 3 explicit verses spelled out for them? This is where we use a brilliant analytical tool, the a fortiori inference. Let's walk through it step by step. Step 1. We established a handle is treated leniently because it doesn't protect the food. Step 2. Yet we just proved from the text that a handle has the power to both import and export impurity. Step 3. A protective covering is treated stringently because it does protect food. So, Step 4. Therefore, if a weak, lenient handle can transfer impurity in both directions, a strong, stringent, protective shell absolutely must do the same. It's an airtight logical leap. But here is where the brilliance of the system really shines. Because the a fortiori inference already proves that protections transfer impurity, this specific verse, about sowing seeds with their shells intact, is actually no longer needed to teach basic transmission. It gets freed up, and it's instead used to teach a totally different, much more severe Torah law about protections that we are going to reveal at the end. Section 4. Pressure testing the logic, challenging the derivations. You see, ancient legal theory doesn't just blindly accept a premise, it rigorously pressure tests it. We can't rely on that elegant a fortiori inference unless its foundational premise, that handles both import and export impurity, is completely unshakable. So the text challenges itself. What if a handle only imports impurity,
but doesn't actually export it. If that were true, our entire logical inference about protections doing both would instantly collapse.
While the logic holds incredibly strong here, it answers the challenge with a really profound principle. If a handle can cause pure food to become impure, it certainly can transmit impurity from impure food to other items. Basically, if the gateway opens to let impurity in, it inherently opens to let impurity out. Okay, but what about the inverse challenge? What if a handle exports impurity but does not import it? For this, we can't just rely on logic. We need absolute textual proof that handles import impurity, or else we can't apply the a fortiori inference to protections. We need the verses to back this up. To prove that handles definitely do both, we analyze this matrix. Why give us 3 totally distinct verses for food, vessels, and carcasses? Well, look at their distinct susceptibilities. Food requires liquid first to even become susceptible. Vessels transmit impurity via their airspace. They don't even need direct physical contact. And carcasses have an impurity that originates internally, not from an outside source. Because food, vessels, and carcasses each have totally unique stringencies, you literally cannot derive the rules of one simply by looking at the other two. So, by systematically proving that no single category can just be learned from the others, the text logically locks in the necessity of every single verse. 3 distinct verses are absolutely necessary. The system is perfectly sealed. We have ironclad proof that handles both import and export impurity, which means our a fortiori inference proving the same for protections is perfectly valid. Finally, Section 5, the final legal framework. So, where does this incredible journey of hermeneutical derivation actually leave us at the dinner table? Remember that freed-up verse about the seeds? Here is the ultimate payoff derived from it. Protections join together with the food to constitute the minimum requisite volume required to impart impurity. Handles do not. Because a shell is a protection, the law views it as so integral that by Torah law, it literally counts towards the physical measurement of the food itself. Specifically, we're talking about a volume of exactly 1 egg bulk. That's the minimum volume required to impart food impurity in this context, and a protective shell counts towards reaching that volume. If the food alone is just slightly less than an egg bulk, but the protective skin brings the total volume up to the minimum, the entire unit imparts impurity. Let's bring this all back to practical dinner table applications. The crucial takeaway is this: a bone on a steak transfers impurity. It functions as a gateway, but it doesn't count as meat. It does not help you reach that 1 egg bulk volume. Meanwhile, an apple skin transfers impurity and counts toward the volume of the apple itself, functioning as a single, unified entity in the eyes of the law. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought. How does recognizing the hidden legal boundaries between what merely holds and what actively protects change the way you view the objects around you? Every single physical object has this hidden analytical framework, determining how it interacts with the world. Keep looking for that hidden logic in the everyday world around you. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.